Most climbers think they need to get stronger if they want to improve. This can seem impossible when you have a busy life with limited time. When you hit that plateau and you need to train more but you don't have the time or resources to do so, what do you do? I'm going to show you how you can get around this problem, and the solution applies to all climbers. A typical session for climbers usually involves focusing on one or two problems at their limit. And every session at the wall involves trying those same problems repeatedly. This does help you to get better at those specific climbs, but you will inevitably neglect other skills. Once your project is completed, you move on to the next one and repeat the process. But because this next problem is in the same grade or circuit, it doesn't feel like you're improving and thus hit a plateau. This is because you became a specialist on one problem and now you're going to become a specialist on your next problem, and possibly losing all your gains from the last project. So here's the problem. Climbing is made up of hundreds of different skills, but these can be broken down into three main areas. You have strength, technique, and stamina. Each of these can be broken up into several subgroups, but overall, these are the main areas you want to focus on. For instance, you could be very strong and perform a one-arm pull-up on a pull-up bar, and this would translate well into climbs where you can use your whole hand. But if you have never held a small edge before, then you cannot employ all that strength. And all that time you put into training your one-arm pull-up, it has been wasted, as you cannot use all that extra strength due to neglecting your technique and stamina. The fix is simple: to vary your week so that you focus on a different area, paying close attention to your weaknesses. I'll show you the most common ones in a minute. Even when you are managing to climb 3 times a week, if all those sessions look like the typical session I described earlier, then improvement can still be slow. The optimum number of sessions per week for most climbers is 3. Ideally, we want 1 strength session, 1 technique session, and 1 stamina session. Here are some suggestions on how you can improve these areas and become a more rounded climber. Before any session, you want to begin with a good 30-minute warm-up. For me, this involves a lot of really easy climbs in quick succession, interspersed with easy push-ups. Then a couple of intermediate problems that are challenging but I can complete first try. This is to warm up my fingers as well as my arms. The warm-up is not just for injury prevention, but it also unlocks increased performance for your session. This is the day where you project up to a handful of climbs at your limit. If you want to get really strong, then try some campusing. This is where you climb with your feet off the wall. There can be quite a high barrier to entry, so I would recommend starting with reverse campusing. Climb to the top of an easy juggy climb and campus down to the ground, like this. Once you are comfortable with reverse campusing, you can try campusing an easy juggy problem by matching the holds. Matching is where you place 2 hands on each hold. This shortens the distance and makes the exercise easier. And once you can manage that, you can really test yourself by campusing without matching. Only 1 hand is allowed on each hold. To finish the session, I like to perform some light fingerboarding. You can do this either before or after your session, or even on a different day, but the key is to keep it light. Pick an edge that you can just about grip for 7 seconds and hold 3 times with 3-second rest in between each hang. Then rest for a minute and do another set of 3 7-second holds. Finish early if you like. The aim of the hangs is to keep it easy. You don't want to be sore after. You will be surprised how little training is required on a fingerboard or a small edge to get stronger. For our second session, we want to focus on technique. I have a whole video on beginner techniques that should be popping up on screen. Also, if you're finding my videos helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel. Once you have watched that video and nailed those drills, you can do some experimenting. Generally speaking, we fall into habits, and in climbing, this ends up with you developing a certain style. What you need is to be pushed outside of your comfort zone. Here are the 3 main activities I choose to help break these habits. The first is to pick a very easy circuit and eliminate holds. The idea is to see how few holds you can use to get to the top. This helps to develop different ways of achieving the same goal. It's even better with a partner so that you can compete and see who can use the fewest holds. On intermediate climbs that are closer to your limit, you can instead climb the problem without matching the holds. This exercise has the added benefit of improving your route reading skills, as it's important to plot your sequence beforehand. My second method is similar to the silent climbing exercise in my other video, but instead of trying to keep your movements as silent as possible, the aim of this exercise is to eliminate all foot slips and cutting loose. You are only allowed to remove your foot off a hold to place it on the next one, and once it is placed, it cannot be readjusted. The best climbs for this are vertical or slightly overhanging problems just below your limit, or cave problems of any difficulty. This is a lot harder than it looks to keep your feet on without cutting loose. One trick is to try and get your feet as high as possible, as early as possible. The last exercise is to play add-on. If you would like me to go into more depth on the rules of this game in a dedicated video, let me know in the comments. Essentially, it is a game for 2 or more people on a wall with plenty of holds. The first person picks any holds they like to start the add-on problem and sets the first move. Then the next person climbs what the first person set, and if successfully repeated the first person's moves, then they can add a hold to the problem. Then the next person copies these moves and adds another hold. This continues until everyone fails or only one person is remaining. Notice how each time the climb has to be started from the beginning, and on this version we're playing, no matching holds is allowed. Feet must follow hands, so we can only use footholds which were previously used as a handhold. If you would like a dedicated video on this game and its variants, leave a comment below. We have failed to make it to the last hold that was set, and so the game is over. So those are my suggestions for what you can do on a technique day. Lastly is stamina, and these are my favourite sessions. One is surprisingly therapeutic, and the other helped me break through a plateau in a big way. Traversing is the most obvious exercise to improve how long you can last on the wall. Using all the holds available, traverse the wall. You can increase the difficulty by either adding laps and trying to set a new record each session, or you can eliminate colours of holds to make the traverse more difficult. The next exercise helped me break through a plateau years ago. This is the 4x4 session, and it's really simple. The hard part is finding 16 problems at the correct grade. The idea is to pick 4 problems that you have climbed before but are tough. It should be a struggle getting to the top, and there is a risk of failure. Climb the 4 problems back to back, then rest for 4 minutes before trying the next block of 4. Ideally, this would be a different set of 4 problems, but don't worry if you climb the same 4 again. Then rest for 4 minutes and go again. Repeat this until you've completed 4 sets, so 16 problems in total. Try each problem only once. If you fail, move on to the next problem. You will be surprised how much this focuses your mind and be able to hold on for much longer than you believed possible. So that's a lot of different ideas over different sessions. Fitting it all into your week can be difficult. Don't worry if you don't have the time for all of these exercises. Focus on your weaknesses. Here are the main problems I see. If your feet are always slipping off the holds, then technique or core tension are likely the problem. try the technique session, eliminating holds, no cutting loose, and playing add-on. If you feel holds are always out of reach, then the problem could be strength. Try projecting, add in some fingerboarding, or campusing. If the most difficult move is always at the end, then stamina could be your issue, so try traversing or 4x4s. I hope this video has been of help. Please consider subscribing or checking out my other videos. If you have any questions, place them down in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them.